And I also think, I think to Zach's point, no, I don't think Cenk is a good businessman. I think he is both a shitty boss in a lot of ways and a bad businessman. And he wants to be over and across everything, constantly talking. And to be fair, I mean, it's probably better than him trying to run for office again.
Oh,
Bro. Yeah, what a humiliation.
The vanguard will be there. Oh, 100%. And to kind of branch out on that, one of the things he tried to use you as an example of was how good of a boss he was, of how good an employer was. I remember you criticized him a little bit, and he went on this impact. Don't you ever imply that people who worked at TYT aren't happy with it. We have tons of very enthusiastic people, and they love TYT. We did a video about how, so-and-so's desk has comic book stuff because they like comic books. We care here. TYT. And a question I had prepped for you was, Cenk likes to advertise that, you shouldn't criticize the Young Turks because they are employers of 75 hardworking people. And I wondered how many of those people he's considering outwardly are his employees when he's paying them like a contractor. In your experience, were there 75 employees at the Young Turks plus contractors? Or is it really that large of a staff?
I don't think it's, I would imagine it's something, between 50 and 70 full-time. That makes sense to me. There's people in Philly. There are people working on Rebel HQ. But I would also imagine, I don't think those are, it's a good question. And this is the other thing about TYT. Obviously, I'm not like a whistleblower or anything. I don't know enough about, how the company is run because I've simply been a contractor and increasingly would not go into studio. I don't want to, fight LA traffic at 3 p.m. on a Friday. But I do know that it is an incredibly opaque organization. So nobody knows how the other side of the company is being run. Nobody is privy to anything. I mean, and that's sort of how Cenk likes it. And I think that's probably what Ana had problems with, but just, without naming names, I know that others also have problems with that. It's like, I don't know. It's whatever they tell me. Sure. Why not? And so I also think I know when I was hired, when I started getting paid for my appearances, I was told by the head of programming, don't tell anybody that you're getting paid.
See, that's shady, right? That's bad boss behavior. That's that's totally on the side of the corporation. And this might be news to you, but one of the, not like news to you, but just like it's something we followed for a long time as far as the financing of TYT. And I don't know how much of this was ever something that came across your plate, but in 2017, obviously they took the financing round from 3L Capital, which was led by Jeffrey Katzenberg, and they got $20 million, right? Jeffrey Katzenberg, big anti-homeless advocate in Los Angeles, right? A guy that spends a lot of time with the Gavin Newsom approach to homelessness. There was another gentleman, Joseph Sandberg, contributed millions of dollars and is still listed on the Young Turks website. That guy was recently arrested for fraud, but the Young Turks did no coverage of it. He's also deeply involved in the Gavin Newsom style anti-homeless clean up the streets of Los Angeles kind of coverage. In October of 2022, Cenk Uygur obviously publicly endorsed billionaire real estate tycoon Rick Caruso over Karen Bass. And in May of 2024, they renamed the People Studio, which had been fundraised with $400,000 in small dollar donations, to take an unannounced, unclarified, non-public sum from Polymarket Studios. And that's owned by Peter Thiel and is obviously illegal to use in America. I'm wondering if you think because Cenk has the pressure on him from all of these outside financiers, that might have something to do with the tonal change that we've seen in TYT over the last decade.
I mean, that is also a massive question. And I really don't want to speak like out of pocket about any of that, because I honestly don't know. I just know how it's come down on people. And I do think that the change in coverage, the change in tone from someone like Ana has definitely impacted the number of people who've joined up, who support it. I mean, it's not anecdotal when you see I canceled my TYT subscription. No. It's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people saying they canceled their TYT subscription. And I was kind of running cover for them. I mean, a little bit, especially with friends, who are like, this is terrible. Especially around the birthing person stuff with Ana, I wasn't running cover for her, but it was like, I definitely bristle at the at least I very much did because I felt a part of it, at the lumping of all TYT together. TYT is transphobes, TYT is this or that. And it's like, no, there are good people, but like the main mouthpieces are just kind of caricatures of the internet and have lost their minds slowly. So like, that I always, was wanting to push back on. In terms of the money, it is a good question. Again, I think what matters is just like how people have felt about it. I mean, I do know that they made a massive hiring push, when they got that infusion of money. But at the same time, canceled a bunch of shows that were in existence already. That may or may not have been the right move. They focus less on pop culture and more on politics. I don't know, right? Around 2018, as I talked about, I was hired for like a 6-month basis, which was funny because then tracking that 2018, like spring, early summer, they did mass layoffs. So it seems like now maybe my hiring was we got a gap here because we fired a bunch of people. I worked there for 2 weeks and they were like, just kidding. No, sorry. We're not doing it. We're pivoting. We're pivoting and we can't honor your contract. I had a 6-month contract. 2 weeks into it, they canceled it. And again, my reps were like, you got to sue. Like, this is really bad. And I was like, I don't want to. It's 2018. It's the height of the Bernie movement. Like, I like them. I'm moving to Los Angeles for other reasons. Like, I'd like to keep a good relationship. I know I have a strongly worded email to Steve-O and to Cenk. Like, this is insanely unprofessional. What are you guys doing? So that's how it, I think that's how the mismanagement affected me. But
that's a horrible thing to do to somebody, just for people who are outside of the business. Sure. Like, that sucks. Like, that's really, really bad. And potentially you could have been in a worse situation where you do decide to move to Los Angeles, uproot yourselves. And then, so exactly. For a company that touts itself as progressive, for a company that touts itself as somebody who's going to, really treat people well, that's pretty
honor
insane.
your contracts is pretty simple. But yeah, I think the money is a big TBD. And I don't think it matters. Like, I mean, it like saying poly market is absolutely, it's right there. It's in your face. Like, what are you going to do? And like, they really don't have a good line. I think that they should just embrace it. Be like, yeah, you know what? Honestly, we're doing this to keep the lights on, and hey, you could help us by joining up. And if the people aren't joining, then maybe they don't like what they're seeing. And so what's interesting is I'm also a more costly contributor to them. I think my rate is higher than most people, right? And so it's economically beneficial to also let me go as well. They were never going to, again, they could have tacitly just never had me on the main show. I go on John's show once a week. That's fine. They financially could handle that. But it feels like almost implicitly, it's like Anna, let's be real, Anna's, and then increasingly Cenk's, like, terrible coverage. Like, you could draw maybe not a direct, but an indirect line into like the letting go of someone like me and be like, sorry, times are tight, and again, I am not here to say they should have kept me on. I did, to my patrons, say that he acted like a bitch on Jillian Michaels' show, and he has acted like a bitch. He has every right to not want to ask me back. Again, the firing language is a little bit insane because I'm like, I've never been an employee, but okay. And then obviously the like banning of other shows. I've got a great relationship with John, or at least I thought I did, and I had a great relationship, with Dr. Richie.
So while we're talking about, she was like 19, 20 some odd years old when she starts sitting next to Cenk on the TYT. And when you look at it and you go to their old videos, right? Like, their most watched videos in the history of the Young Turks. It's like, this is how chicken nuggets are made. Like, this woman's face was destroyed after she was mauled by a chimpanzee. There's a video that got like 10 million views of Cenk and Anna watching 2 Asian women make out. And they're like, make out porn. And it's like very 2006. Like, I went back and watched all of this stuff. And to me, it just seems like that's what they deep down want to be making. But they saw a lane for themselves, and it was progressive media. And like, people are always like, Zach and Gavin, why do you cover this? It's because when we log off, this is what the fuck Gavin and I talk about. We will go downstairs. My girlfriend is a real reporter. We'll talk about the news. We'll talk about what the fuck is happening in the world. And then we will bitch about the coverage that it got, or the lack of coverage that it got. That's what we're obsessed with. That's what we're thinking about all the time, right? What I think they're thinking about all the time is not the progressive mission. You know what I mean? And I feel like the only way you could do a daily news show like that is if it's an obsession of yours, if it consumes you. You know what I mean? And clearly it doesn't consume them.
Well, exactly. And something has to ground you, right? Like something has to like be your main motivator for why you want to do this. And for me, it's like the broader project of like, for lack of sounding corny, collective liberation. I mean, truly fighting these fascists and getting rid of them and winning. I don't want to meet them halfway. I don't give a shit. I'm going to beat them. I'm going to beat the propagandists. That's what I want to do. If they don't haul me away and take down everything I have, you know what I mean? Which could very well happen. So that's the other question.
Not on our watch.
I mean, well, okay. We'll create some sort of underground situation. I mean, I do think the only angle I can think for like why they might be doing this is maybe it'll a little bit save their asses. You know, there's a big target on a big network's back that maybe speaks out about Palestine or whatnot. So it's like, hey, get in good with the administration. Who knows? That could be an angle. But in terms of what I hope the future, or what I would have hoped the future would be, you know, Mondale Robinson said something on my show. He said this that seems so pie in the sky, but I really think it would be wonderful, you know, to free Cenk and Ana of TYT and to take over the channel, because it does have a massive subscriber base. And yeah, people tune in for, you know, some standard news. They want that news. They definitely want it from like a progressive perspective, which is why I think some of the ways that Ana handles issues like the LA wildfires is wildly unprofessional, skewed, biased, and lazy. But I think that I wish, right? Like I wish it could just be into different hands. And I say that without like, and it'll be my hands. No, I just wish that like, and it's what they call founder's disease, right? It's like people who found a company or an organization stay there and stay there and stay there. And I also think, you know, I think to Zach's point, no, I don't think Cenk is a good businessman. I think he is both a shitty boss in a lot of ways and a bad businessman. And he wants to be over and across everything, constantly talking. And to be fair, I mean, it's probably better than him trying to run for office again.
Oh, yeah. What a humiliation that was. And that's what's also funny is when Cenk's like, you know, like, you want to criticize me, but what have you built? What have you built? It's like, bro, what the fuck have you built? You've miserably failed in every single one of these ventures, even regardless of business. He's not a good activist either. None of his quote unquote activist PACs, ventures, whatever you want to call it, none of them have succeeded. None of them have gone anywhere. They've all just sucked up money from, you know, good faith progressive viewers and thrown it in the trash essentially. But either way,
and I think that's the other thing is, sorry, last. And if you guys like it's like, the other thing is the world has changed and the media landscape has changed. I mean, you know, TYT is basically like starter pack politics when you discover what YouTube is. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like the free game that comes along with your iPhone. Like that's how entrenched TYT is with all of this. Like and so, but since then, you've had so many, you know, news shows blow up, right? Kyle's show, The Majority Report, all people they hate, you know, like, although Cenk says he likes Kyle, even though Kyle has definitely critiqued them, you know, and it's
on our show, no less.
Yeah. And there's also like more alternative media, right? You know, it is like, you know, whether, I mean, The Intercept has changed, but you like The Intercept, or like now the plethora what is it? The
American Prospect. There's a lot of good
ones, but also like, you know, Substack. Like there's just so many more media outlets, so it's much more competitive. So it's hard for them, right? And again, I do think that, for example, Ana is not happy, and I think she needs a lot more money to be happy, because I think ultimately she wants to just be interior decorating. Like I kind of have that on good faith that like
she said that like 10 years ago, or like maybe like 7 or 8 years ago. She is with the Trump stuff. She's like, this is just misery. I can't deal with it. It's bad for my mental health. I'd rather just be an interior designer. And it's like, you can do that. Like you're in a much better position than most people are in life to just kind of manifest your reality or your desired reality into existence. Like just fucking do it. Why are you letting anyone tell you no? That's kind of how I feel with John Iadarola too, where it's like, I understand that the Damage Report brand and that channel, you've built it up, you have all these subscribers and stuff. But like you said, he doesn't need Cenk and Ana. He doesn't owe all of his success and all of his talent to them. No, he could do just as well on his own, if not better, if he kind of disconnected his reputation from theirs at this point, in my opinion. But
yeah,
everyone's got to do.
The last thing is just like I keep on saying that because we feel like there's not enough time, but there is. We have all the time in the world. No, I have my show at 1:00. Everybody should tune in. But it's like, nobody wants to see this happen to a big so-called progressive media network. Least of all me. That's sort of why I'm like, Mondale Robinson is right. It would be great if the infrastructure could continue, right? And maybe there isn't money. Maybe you got to scale it back. Who knows? Maybe it's good if John would go on his own because they don't have the money to upkeep him. It's a very small team that puts that show together. But you know what I'm saying? Like, but I feel like there's a lot of people who are like, wow, I love the left always hates each other. And, you always want to see everything be torn down. No, man, we didn't start this fight. We don't want to see like these hosts we didn't leave them. They left us, man. They left their own audience. They really did. They did it as a service to their own audience. They've been online too long. Their brains are too broken by the internet. They have been, and I think also that is fundamental to how they approach stories is very internet clickbait based. Cenk is a contrarian by nature, right? And when you are in a progressive movement, when you believe in, bending that arc of justice, as MLK Jr. said, when you believe in really like changing this country, you have to be a collectivist. You have to work with other people. Like, and I truly don't mean the right. I truly don't mean that.
Right.
Because there are way more of us. Obviously the problem, the mandate, Cenk basically buys into the mandate thing. Oh, they want the popular vote. 49%, buddy. You know what I'm saying? Like 33% of registered voters. 33%
and they're already getting blown out
voters.
In congressional districts now, in red districts. Like
totally.
Whatever mandate they had is literally already disappearing as the backlash sets in.
Absolutely. So it's like to keep on, like there's no more ground underneath. You're just skittering in air right now. There's nothing to back that up. And really what we lost to was people staying home. Because rightly, as they're, I do think they are right in saying the Democratic Party sucks, but you always have to be like really, really cautious when people, and this with Dore, focus too much on how bad corporate Democrats are without being like, okay, but authoritarian fascists. Perfect example. Kristi Noem is said, don't come to our country, right? Reminded me of Kamala Harris saying, don't come to our country. I hated both of those phrases. Difference is, Kristi Noem straight up standing in front of prisoners with their heads shaved, like innocent Venezuelans behind her told to shut up and, look sad for the camera.
In a foreign country.
In a foreign fucking country. Like, that's the difference.
Yeah. Oof.
Anyway. I love y'all. When you guys rant, it gives me life. I appreciate you covering all of this. I think, someone's got to do the hate watching. And you know what? I appreciate you shouting me out, even though I haven't come on until this point.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there. Be there. The